Good morning, welcome to the Dothan Rotary Club. It's great to see everyone here this morning. Looks like when I get past the freezing weather, at least for 2 days. Thank you for standing. We'll now have the national anthem and pledge of allegiance. Please join us. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Invitations have been brought to us by Secretary President.
Bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, as we gather in fellowship this afternoon, we thank you for the opportunity to serve. Grant us the wisdom to make decisions that positively impact our community in 2026. Strengthen our commitment to service above self. Guide and bless the work of our hands. Grant us the courage to act with integrity, the humility to serve others, and the wisdom to lead our community with purpose. Strengthen our resolve to help those in need and keep us focused on our shared goals of peace and goodwill. Bless those who have prepared and served this food today. Please bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to your service. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Doug. Every Rotary, very good.
Thank you, President Allen. Good morning, everybody. I hope you survived the cold weather. I call this plumbing and HVAC weather because if it's going to break, it's going to break during this time. Those guys can't make money during this time. They might want to go home. I'm sure they're just swamped with more than they can do. Let's celebrate some birthdays. I'm looking at him. He's not looking any older, but Bob Rutt, February 3rd. Happy birthday. Cameron Good, February the 5th. Too young to really care, I guess. And Brad Parrish on February the 8th. Anniversaries, one big celebration, Robert Bird and Tony on February 3rd. You all have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, introduction of guest Dothan Rotary.
Well, good morning, good evening, and goodbye to the cold weather. I may have to introduce myself as a guest this morning. It's been a while since I've been But as I recognize the guests, we're glad you're with us this morning. Will you stand as I call the names and remain standing until everybody's recognized? This morning we have Jessica Good, a guest of Cameron Good. We have John Paul Turner, who's a guest of the club. We have Coleman Cannon, who's a guest of Marcus Cannon. And we have Julie Gonzalez, guest of the club. Join me in welcoming these guys.
Well, Kim asked Brad Harris. They are points. We have 994 points. The winning number for today is 732. 732.
All right.
Jack the Diamonds. Try again next week. Thank y'all. Today's program is Keith McNulty. I'll be doing the introductions today. Is Troy Athletic Director Kyle George. We may have some Troy graduates in the room. A lot of Troy supporters. You know, how many have been to the Troy campus in the past 5-10 years? A lot different than it was 20 years ago. You know, Troy, what I've seen, what I'm told, Troy is growing and is actually, building to meet that need. If you go to in Cal, you may correct if I'm wrong, some of the facilities are almost overbuilt for the capacity that we have now. If you look at the football stadium, basketball stadium, the baseball stadium program is just fantastic. A lot of it, as mentioned, seems to be a little bit overbuilt. It's also, if you look on the schedule, we're playing some of the actually starting to play some SEC teams and some of the teams from other conferences. In the long run, this seems to be basically a 3 there, 1 here type, hopefully, type scenario in the future. If some of the stadiums were built to actually hold the minimum capacity to have some of those programs come to Troy, and I may be wrong in saying that, but from what I'm told when I'm visiting, that seems to be the program. A lot of exciting things going on in Troy. Troy is not very far away. I know we have a lot of Auburn, Alabama graduates, Georgia, Vanderbilt, and other schools, Florida, Florida State, Mississippi State, Ole Miss in this area. If you ever have the opportunity, it's certainly a great place to visit. And it's within an hour's drive, straight up to 231. I'll just give it a plug if you ever like to visit. It's a nice campus. I'd like to bring up Kyle and just let you know a little bit of background. Kyle was named Director of Athletics at Troy on November 5th, 2025, following 3-month tenure as interim director. George served as Deputy Director of Athletics for External Operations, been a member of the Troy Athletic Department for nearly 9 years. In his role as Deputy Director, George has had oversight of marketing, communications, development, revenue, share, wait for it, NIL activations, advertising, ticket sales, sponsorship sales, promotions, fan engagement, as well as licensing and trademarks. He has also served as sports administration for baseball and oversaw football scheduling, where he negotiated more than $8 million a game guaranteed for football program. Prior to Troy, Kyle served in various roles with the athletic department at the University of Southern Mississippi. Native of Hoover, George graduated from Sanford with his bachelor's degree and earned his master's degree from Southern Miss. His wife Lynn serves as director of IDA Bank at Troy University. They have 2 young boys, Grayson and Graydon. I'd like to present and give a warm welcome to Kyle George.
Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody good? Like we talked about earlier, glad the weather is starting to warm up a little bit. It's starting to feel more like baseball and softball weather finally, which I'm glad to see. I know we're gonna have a little bit of cold snap in here again, but we got softball season starting this Friday for us at Troy University. Our softball program will host Middle Tennessee on Friday at 2:30 p.m. And then next weekend, our baseball program starts their season out on the road, which has been a while that we have started on the road for baseball. Usually we're starting off at home, but the way our schedule is, and as you mentioned earlier too, we're playing some tough opponents, and sometimes you got to change your philosophy a little bit when it comes to how those games are taking place. And I'll touch on that a little bit later on as well too. But again, just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come and visit with you guys here. Dothan is a huge part of Troy University and our fan base, our overall growth as a academic institution as well too, and several of our alums right here in Troy. I know we've mentioned about the show of hands for those that have been to Troy's campus, but who all is a Troy University graduate? I know we gotta have lunch here. There we go. There's my Trojans. Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all's support, and looking forward to having y'all come back to campus more as well too. But want to touch on a few things that have been taking place in our athletic department over the last few months and such, and what's still to come here for us. And looking back at the past year for us, football had a great season for us overall. We won the Sun Belt Conference West Division. We were not picked to finish anywhere near the top, and we found a way to overcome and win those games there. Now, I wouldn't say they're always pretty, but we found a way to win a tough style of football. Defense, special teams really stood out for us this past year. Won 8 games, and we gave James Madison all he could handle before they went to the college football playoff. That will certainly benefit the Sun Belt Conference, but I can tell you too, in our text thread with all the Sun Belt ADs, I told them, I'm not rolling over. We're going to find a win that championship. So we were trying our best to beat James Madison up until the last 4 minutes of that game. We had him on the ropes there, but just a few injuries kind of hurt us there. Hurts when you lose your starting quarterback as well as your starting left tackle. That's hard to overcome. But I think we're having some good things coming forward for us. Brand new offensive coordinator starts for us this year in Adam Austin. He led the #1 scoring offense in all of FCS last year at Tarleton State. And if you look at all divisions of NCAA football, that's #2 scoring offense in all of college football last year, just behind Oregon. Came in at just over 40 points a game. Top 10 offense when it came to rushing and passing rather. So really excited about what Coach Austin's going to bring to the table and help us continue to add to what's to come for this upcoming 26 football season. Added a lot of talent as well too in the transfer portal. And I'll get a chance, I'm sure, to talk a little bit further about. I know you'll have plenty of questions about that part as well. But as we continue to adapt when it comes to the new world of college athletics, you got to be aggressive in the transfer portal. You also got to be aggressive of retaining your student athletes as well. When you look at those numbers as well too, we had 26 players enter the transfer portal from Troy University. Of that number, 6 played 150 or more snaps. I think that's what's one of the key pieces to look at. You see that number of 26. Not all of those guys were key contributors. So you're going to lose some guys. That's part of the game that takes place for us now. But we were well below the average because the average in the Sun Belt Conference is nearly 35 student athletes for each football program enters the transfer portal and matriculated to another institution. It is part of what we have now. We have about 45 newcomers on our roster this year. But we also brought in some very talented newcomers. We brought in a first-team all-conference offensive lineman from Ohio University. We brought in some guys from North Carolina State in the offensive line. Brought some talented players from all over the country for key position groups for us. I think the biggest part for us, though, was the retention that we had. When you look at the Sun Belt Conference, since 2023, when the transfer portal really started moving, you have not had a team return 2 first-team all-conference performers from the previous year to the next year. Troy's the first one to pull that feat off here coming up in 2026. We have first-team All-American, not just All-Sun Belt, but All-American Evan Crenshaw coming back as our punter. Should have won the Ray Guy Award, in my opinion, there as well, too. But we also have Donnie Smith, who led the conference in sacks last year as a bandit, as a hybrid linebacker, defensive lineman, with 11 sacks. So I think it's key to have that kind of production coming back, as well as our starting quarterback in Goose Crowder, who'll be healthy once again. Some really talented playmakers when it comes to wide receiver and running back, helping to bolster our offense coming into the upcoming 26 football season. Those season tickets, they're on sale now. Shameless plug. TroyTrojans.com/tickets. You can buy those season tickets and be part of the action all season long. We start off with 2 home games to start off the season. September 5th against Sam Houston State at Veterans Memorial Stadium, and then the following week, September 12th, against Alabama State, which that was a top 10 record crowd for us a few years back, the last time we hosted them. So looking forward to having a great schedule on hand here for us coming up as well. Our basketball programs, if you've been following along, you've probably seen we got some great teams, and if you haven't followed along, come join us at Trojan Arena. It's just a short drive up the road here from Dothan. We've got 2 really, really talented teams, and I'll start with men's basketball. We lost 2 games this past week. We're a little frustrated on that part. We'll get that part fixed. But even with that, we're still the number 1 team in the Sun Belt Conference. That shows you how dominant our team's been this season. We got a great chance to win the Sun Belt Conference once again. We won the Sun Belt Conference regular season as well as postseason tournament last year. And Coach Cross has just found a way to reload and replenish, led by a son of the Wiregrass and Thomas Dowd, who's been fantastic for us. He is leading the Sun Belt Conference in rebounds right now. He's averaging a double-double. He's got my vote to be the Sun Belt Player of the Year, and I think he's got a very good chance to pull that off. But we're a very balanced offensive team, one of the top offensive teams in all the country actually right now as well too. We'll get our Shooty Woes passes from this past year and keep building on what's to come here for us. We got a great game coming up this Saturday. So a key part for us is the Sun Belt MAC Challenge. And so what happens with that, earlier in the season, we went on the road and played the MAC team. And then with net rankings, so you kind of match up good on good, basically. We're playing Akron this upcoming Saturday. It's a 5 o'clock tip-off. It's televised nationally on ESPN2. And so they are 18-4 coming into the game, one of the top-rated teams in the country, a top 50 overall team. Great national exposure for us. We plan to fill all of Trojan Arena. We got Trojan Mardi Gras taking place. Now, we don't have the great parade that y'all have gotten down here in Dothan. Bill Thurman tells me about it all the time about how great it is. And one of these years, when we get down here and get a chance to see it, I just always got a ball game taking place. But what we're going to do is have free food samples as soon as the doors open at 4 o'clock. Come in, grab plenty of free food from all of our different food vendors and such. Got T-shirts to give away as well, too. We've also got a great ticket special taking place right now. For any companies, businesses, whatever else, you got a whole bunch of family and friends want to come together. 50 tickets for $150. That's $3 per ticket. We're trying to pack out Trojan Arena for a nationally televised game. Planning to get our student section ready to go for this one as well, too. But again, that's this Saturday at 5 p.m., February 7th, as we take on Akron for men's basketball. Along the lines, too, for women's basketball, you'll likely know about Shanda Rigby and how fantastic she has been for our women's basketball program for a number of years now. She recently reached 500 career victories at the collegiate level there. So from all of her time in college, she's over 500 career victories. We're going to get a chance to celebrate that Wednesday night. She's got her next home game this upcoming Wednesday night at 6 p.m. in Trojan Arena. Along the lines of key victories for Shanda, though, she's 2 wins away from becoming Troy University's all-time wins leader at the Division I level here for us. Joyce Sorrell started our program. She had 20 years as the head coach, had 274 victories, so 1 more, and Shanda ties Coach Sorrell, and then 2 more, she hits that magic number of 275. So really looking forward to celebrating Shanda and what she's accomplished here for us. And it's also in the midst of our 50th season of Troy women's basketball, which was our very first women's program startup as well, too. So a lot of great things taking place there. We have a total of 8 games remaining at home in Trojan Arena. So on any given Wednesday or Thursday and Saturday, you got a game taking place in Trojan Arena. Come up and join us throughout the month of February to be a part of that action there. Talking about baseball, been a fantastic run here for us as of late. Last year, we were ranked top 25 in the nation every single week of the season. Somehow we didn't go to the postseason. That's still one that bothers me and Coach Meade quite a bit. We would have a few words with the committee if they would give us a chance to talk to them, but we won 39 games last year. What we're doing this year, we're going to leave no doubt about it. We're talking about the games of who we're playing. We're going on the road to Vanderbilt. We're playing Georgia twice in the home and home with Alabama this season. We go to Auburn. We'll also have a 3-game set against Maryland. So you name the team, we're going after them. East Carolina, who's a top team in the country as well, too. We play Campbell at home this season. We go to Mercer. All these teams are some of the top 100 teams in the RPI. And that's what really matters in terms of postseason for baseball. Playing those key games, and you get extra for going on the road. And that's why we're being very strategic about taking some of those games on the road. I joke with Skylar about how basically every midweek we're trying to play an SEC, but that's what we're going after. Because if you want to be in the conversation of the best, you got to go beat the best. So we'll play them anywhere, anytime, any place there for us. So we're looking forward to a great baseball season. This year we come into the season as a third overall ranking in the Sun Belt Conference when it comes to preseason rankings. Now, you can take those and throw them out the window because they really don't matter at the end of the day. The end of the season is what matters the most for us here. But we do have the Sun Belt Conference preseason player of the year and Blake Cabell. He is an on-base machine. He got on base every single game last season, dating back to 2024 when he's at Western Kentucky. I think he's north of 70 games in a row now. He's gotten on base consecutively. So he just finds a way to produce and get on base. We have some very, very talented players in this roster. Jimmy Janicki is a sophomore for us, and he's going to be a possible first-round draft choice next year. He steps in behind the dish to take over for Brooks Bryan, who was an All-American for us and got drafted and moved on. But really excited to see these guys get a chance to step up and take on some leadership roles. And we've got a lot of power pitching right now as well, too. I think back in the fall when we had all the metrics we were measuring there, the slowest guy for us hit 94 is his top velocity. So we have some really talented arms coming in and have some power pitching and really hopefully carry us through a grueling season to come and get us into the postseason as well. That Sun Belt Conference baseball tournament will take place up the road in Montgomery, and so we got to make sure we win the championship there, but paint the town cardinal in white because my old alma mater, Southern Miss, I don't want those folks coming to Montgomery and trying to take over there. We got to show them this is Troy's town there for sure there. They also had the 18th ranked nationally transfer class of players that came in. Highest rated group of 6 program in the entire country when it came to that part as well, too. And I also looked to at softball. Mentioned how their season starts up here very soon as well. One of the most highly rated programs for us when it comes to the student athletes coming into our program. A highly rated transfer class came in. A lot of great things taking place for them. You can't beat the price when it comes to going to a softball game. It's free admission. So come on up and join us. They'll host Auburn this season. We got Middle Tennessee, like I mentioned as well, too. Louisiana and several other great programs in the Sun Belt Conference coming to us this season as well. So great things for our student athletes and our programs taking place. Additionally, too, the support level over the last few years for us has been phenomenal. We continue to keep growing our revenues at all-time record clips. Now, I've been fortunate to be a small part of that for us over the last 9 years I've been at Troy University. This past year, though, I want to highlight, too, philanthropic donations. We're at 40% year over year when it came to that part, and it's our highest year on record. So the last 7 years, we've set a record when it comes to philanthropic donations to the Trojan Warrior Club. Now, number one, if y'all have never met Gary Wilbur, he's going to find you guys, I'm sure it's pretty soon. Michael knows what I'm talking about. Because he's my head development guy that he just gets up and down the road all the time and finds a way to bring people in and show them how they can help support. What I want you to know, too, is that it matters to our student athletes. It matters to our coaches. You know, what you're investing in is our success and ways for us to help these student athletes grow as individuals. And I touched on a little bit, too, the ever-changing landscape of college athletics. One of the things I've really been preaching to our group is, as much as things are changing, we see that you may not have a student athlete for 4 years now. You may have them just for 2 or 3 years. It might even be 1 year. But the more that we can hang on to and make sure that Troy feels like home to them and make sure that they are progressing towards a degree. You know, those are some things I think we got to continue to keep working on as leaders in college athletics. That transfer portal keeps turning, but what's going to happen to that progress to degree? How are you going to make sure that student athlete completes their degree and has a chance to move on to the business world afterwards? Those are the things that we really want to focus on at Troy University, and what I think we can help separate us from our peers and making sure we still value the student athlete experience. It's not just a transactional opportunity for them. We want to make sure we invest in them. And what I tell you is when you invest at Troy University, it's spend your money with us, whether it be on tickets, officially licensed merchandise, whether it be donating your hard-earned money to the Trojan Warrior Fund. That's how we're using this, to help grow the lives of our student athletes and what they'll get a chance to be as leaders one day in the future. I'll leave you with this part before I turn it over for questions as well, too. My personal philosophy of how I want to approach things as getting the chance to lead the athletic department of Troy University. And number one, it's a massive honor. It's something I feel very excited to have this opportunity. I know, too, I'm one of the youngest ADs in the entire country, and I wear it as a badge of honor because I know it's my whole team is helping me lead to this point here. It's not just me by any stretch. I've been poured into by some great mentors, one of those being our former AD, Brent Jones, the one before him, Jeremy McClain. They're two guys that have poured into me for a number of years. But as we keep moving forward in college athletics, I think it's key for us to lead positively. There's a lot of negative items out there. We got to figure things out with agents. We got to figure things out when it comes to the transfer portal and all the different pieces of it will keep evolving and growing. But I think now more than ever, we got to be positive about finding great solutions to make sure we can enhance college athletics for the future. I think everybody here has probably got a college team that they enjoy cheering for, whether it might be some of the other two schools in our state. There's still room for Detroit, mind you, well, too, for that part. But I think that's one of the key things we got to keep leading positive and find opportunities for us to work through this and find a way forward to be the best version of college athletics that we can be moving forward. Additionally, too, something I share with my team, too, about that positive mentality, what we're going to bring, because we're always in a boiling pot of water, basically. It pressure's on all of us every single day. A favorite book of mine is written by Damon West along with John Gordon, and that's called The Coffee Bean. That's what we've been sharing in my group. Today was our monthly staff meeting, and as part of that, we recognized our graduate assistant of the month. And that's a chance for us to show some of our young leaders about how they're stepping up and leading our team. And what I've been doing is sharing a copy of that book with them, the message of the coffee bean. So they give you a brief version of it. Boiling pot of water, you throw a carrot in there, it's going to soften and fall apart. You take an egg and you throw it in there, it's going to harden that egg. Throw a coffee bean in there, well, coffee beans rather, in boiling water create coffee, which gives you energy. And that's the message I'm preaching to our group is when we're in these pressure moments, let's make sure don't tear each other down, don't harden up, don't fall soft and fall apart. Let's give energy to each other all the time, and what we can keep doing to our student athletes. So again, we keep moving forward. That's the philosophy of how I'm leading our department as we try to lead positive at all times. But with that being said, we'd love to hear any questions y'all got. I know you've probably got plenty about the state of college athletics or Troy University itself as well. Happy to answer any questions you might have today. Yes, sir.
Who is in charge of the NIL transfers and recruiting and offering? And is that you or is that the coaching staff?
Meaning at Troy University specifically?
Yes.
Okay, so when it comes to the actual transfer market and bringing student athletes in, our coaching staff is the one going through the transfer portal and actively recruiting student athletes from the transfer portal to Troy University. Now, if we have a student athlete elect to get into the transfer portal, they work with our compliance office to complete that paperwork to enter into the transfer portal. With that part, if a student athlete elects to go into the transfer portal, we do have that right to cut their grant made and let them move on and no longer fund them. We also have the right, too, of if they come back and say, hey, I want to come back to Troy University, we can bring them back out of the transfer portal. It's happened on occasion where an athlete has gone into the portal and realized it's not going to be the best situation for them to transfer. So we always want to have those open dialogue and conversations with student athletes. One of the things we try to make sure we do on the front end, though, is educate student athletes on here's how the process works. Not trying to say it's pros or cons, but just here's how the whole process works necessarily, just so they have all that information. And we also educate them further, too, on what NIL really means, what revenue share means, and all that as well. Because one of the key pieces they don't always think about, tax implications. And I know Michael's helped me out quite a few times in helping educate our student athletes on that tax implications to ensure Uncle Sam's coming calling every April 15th, whether you like it or not. You got to be ready for that as well. Any other questions I can answer?
How often are you dealing with agents instead of students?
Changed quite a bit this year versus the previous year. It used to be you didn't have any kind of agents whatsoever. Had a lot more this year in football. And they're not all bad, but there are some. It's a little question. And I think that is something where when you look at college athletics as a whole, we need to have better guidelines about who is truly authorized as an agent. Because some of these student athletes, they might be getting information from somebody back home who's not really authorized to be a true agent. You know, an agent to be able to help them know legal documents and know what everything looks like for them, potential earnings and such. It's not just somebody who used ChatGPT to figure out, hey, you should cost this much on the open marketplace there. What I've seen happen, and I don't know the exact figure off the top of my head here, but there's a large portion of student athletes across the board that went into the transfer portal that are not going to find a home. And they're going to be left high and dry of, they were told, go into the transfer portal, you're going to get more money that way. But if there's nobody to call home for you at the end of the day, did you really make any more money there? That's the part I think we're hopefully helping our student athletes see. And I can tell you some positives on those trends too, because now we've got 3 years of data there for it. The first year of the transfer portal in the Sun Belt Conference, the number was around 460 in the Sun Belt Conference for football, that entered the transfer portal overall. That number spiked last year to 680. Now that part too, you saw a lot of collectives trying to dump money before the CSC came on board, and it's starting in August that you had revenue share again. And so basically, they're trying to wash that money off the books, and you had a lot of people jump in because there really was no quote-unquote salary cap, if you will, at that point there. This most recent transfer portal, now again, the data is a little bit different because we have one transfer portal now for football as opposed to 2 in the past. The numbers regressed down to 430 in total. So I think we're seeing, some student athletes are seeing, if you leave our conference, I'm just going to use Sun Belt, that's one I know the best, it doesn't always guarantee you're going to get better playing time in another institution. We had several guys last year that had a chance to move on to very strong Power 4 institutions. Some of them are playing the college football playoff. I say playing loosely because they were on a team, but they weren't really playing. And so they're missing that game rep that doesn't really show the NFL or whoever else that might be a chance of what they can demonstrate. We show them there's a path from Troy. It's well established. If you're trying to get to the NFL or other professional sports as well too, we've got DeMarcus Ware, who's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. We got Kamani Vidal, is a 5th-round draft choice, starting running back for the Los Angeles Chargers. I got 2 guys, and Marcus Jones from this area originally as well too. Now he did transfer to Houston, but he started with us. And Del Pettis, they're playing the Super Bowl this upcoming Sunday for the New England Patriots. So there's a path there, but you got to have game film. And I think that's what we're hopefully educating student athletes of. You can make good earnings now in college athletics. That's true. Getting more money doesn't necessarily equate to a better opportunity, though. That's where we're hopefully helping them see. If you want to go and just get money and be a backup, more power to you. But if you want to have contributable minutes, snaps, whatever that looks like there, and have actual game film and be a part of hopefully winning a championship, you got a great opportunity at Shore University for that. Yes, sir.
Is there a particular formula that the coaches are using to get the NIL athlete versus the high school athlete, or is it just based on need?
It's based a little bit on need in terms of the overall roster. Now, I'll tell you, for us, you're seeing a lot more Division I level older rosters. Like you look at Indiana, who just won the national championship. A lot's been said about how they had a bunch of 3-star athletes, and on their roster, they're the first ever national champion to have less than 50% of their roster be a blue chip athlete. They had 8% of their roster was deemed a blue chip athlete. Now, a lot of those guys were 23, 24, 25 years old because they're in their 5th, 6th, 7th year eligibility. A lot of those guys also came from the Sun Belt Conference. When you look at James Madison had 13 players in that roster. You had Texas State listed on there. I just had a student athlete go to Indiana as well too. So I mean, there's those things where they recognize there's talent in our leagues. That just as a reason of we're going to constantly look at the high school ranks because that's key to Troy University. Junior college is just as important, but it also depends on what needs you have. If you feel like you've got a strong offensive line and you're just getting some of the young guys to come in next, you're probably looking high school range. If you're like how we were, we needed to redo our offensive line this past year. We brought in a lot of JUCO as well as 50-year guys looking for that last chance of eligibility there. So it kind of depends on your overall roster construction about what needs you have. And that will change year to year based on the transfer portal as well as matriculation. Any other questions I can answer? Yes, sir.
Do all the athletes get some NIL money?
Not all. And that's a very good question there because not every single sport gets revenue share. And that's one of the things I guess to clarify here too. Revenue share comes directly from the institution. Name, image, and likeness, NIL. Every single athlete can go make a true NIL deal happen. I think that's one of the things that's changed significantly from how this thing all started. By the nature of the law, NIL was meant to allow student athletes to profit off of their marketability, whether it be on social media, appearances, everything else. And that true NIL is still a part of our game today. I've seen some great athletes of ours who are not getting revenue share, but have done a great job of marketing themselves. They're getting true NIL deals and helping pitch other brands as well too. And even on, say, a football roster, not every athlete on a football roster is getting revenue share or NIL. Now that varies institution to institution. One of the things that's also changed too is the number of scholarships. I'll use baseball for an example. For years, baseball was 11.7 scholarships based on Title IX implications and everything else. The NCAA got tired of getting sued all the time, so they basically said, anybody that's on your roster, they can have a scholarship. So all they set now is a roster limit. Baseball, for instance, that'd be 35 guys on the roster now. An institution can choose to have 35 scholarships if they can fund that, or they can have some other variation there. I use the example of baseball because in the Sun Belt Conference, that's when we compete at a national level. Other schools we see in the Big Ten, they're scaling that part back to reinvest in the football and other sports. And so where some schools went down in their scholarships and may have gone down in revenue share opportunities, we've been able to throttle that up a little bit more. And we see that as a way for us to keep being in the upper echelon of the NCAA landscape when it comes to college baseball, college softball, other things like that as well too. Anything else I can answer? Yes, sir.
When a student athlete signs an NIL agreement, are they bound to your university at that point, or are they still free agents shopping around?
I wish I had a solid answer for you on that one. That one kept me up a lot in January, I can tell you for sure. And great question because, so here's a couple different pieces here. GIA, that's called a grant and aid. You know, years ago, it used to be NLI, National Letter of Intent. Now with NIL, all this stuff has kind of changed now. Grant and aid is what you sign with a school saying that you accept that. Technically, though, a student athlete can sign multiple grant and aids if they so choose to. Where they start getting more bound to the institution is with these revenue share contracts. And so what we have now with athletes that are getting paid on revenue share, they are receiving a contract from the institution. Sometimes it's a MOU sent to them first and then the contract follow later on. That's more of your binding item. So when we report that to the CSC, which is the Collegiate Sports Commission, that is the governing body of revenue share. You probably heard Coach Sweeney at Clemson talk about that a little bit last week as well too. And that's, I think, look, however you say it, it's good that we're talking about these things now and uncovering, hey, we're seeing things happen because it's not just the Group of Six programs that are running into issues of, let's call it poaching, whatever it is. You're seeing it at the highest level as well too. So we need better governance across the board because there's a lot of these gray areas that are happening right now. Case in point, when it came to our signees, we signed guys in December, their early signing period, they were high school and junior college student athletes. We also signed guys in January as part of the transfer portal. The transfer portal runs from January 2nd to January 16th. After January 16th, an athlete can no longer put their name into the transfer portal. Darian Mensah with Duke, that whole battle there in the 11th hour trying to put his name into the portal there. Now, an athlete can transfer still from now until the start of the season. Once you're in the portal, you can still transfer at any given time. We held off on publicizing our signees until January 17th because I didn't want anybody to know who exactly we had signed until we could guarantee we had them on campus, they're in a class. Because once you're in a class, then you are bound to that school. And so we had to be a little bit different. Back in the past, as soon as we sign a guy, we're beating our chest and excited about who we got. Now we got to be a little bit careful and I want to make sure I get that guy all the way here. He's in a class, and then we're going to promote how great that guy is. Just some of the things we kind of change our mindset a little bit at times now.
But January 17th, he cannot.
That's at that point, he no longer enter the transfer portal. So in football, any athlete on campus today, if they have not entered the transfer portal, they're locked in at this point until the conclusion of the 26 football season, which I think is a good step in the right direction. Now, you can still argue, is January the right time for that to take place? Should we do this in April? I think those are conversations that are being had. And should we mimic an NFL hiring cycle? That's one of the things taking place right now. So, for instance, you have everybody knows at this point that the Las Vegas Raiders have not hired their coach because he's currently coaching for the Seattle Seahawks. But it's leaked out they're going to hire him. But they could not legally hire him until he is done coaching. That's the way NFL contracts are done, is that a coach can't be hired in the midst of postseason play. You go back and look at the college football playoff, and that dominated the headlines where you get coaches changing. And that's where the calendar, we had to look and see the decisions that Lane Kiffin might make. I can't exactly fault him for choosing to go to LSU. The calendar is what I think caused the issues, because he had to make that decision to make sure his future employer, he's doing the best job he can with that school. And that's where I think in college athletics, we need to really look and see how should we change our calendar to make sure we're not putting athletes, coaches, everybody else at a disadvantage. Same thing for our fans, because our fans get frustrated when you see that part too. I mean, all these things, we're all part of the stakeholders at the end of the day about how we're trying to make sure that college athletics is the healthiest it can possibly be for the future to come. Yes, sir.
All these NIL deals, are they paid up front, quarterly, or any other past performance? How does that work?
All of those things are on the table there. So it depends on each institution how they do it. Some schools front load, they get a guy to campus. I have heard of some schools that have different performance incentives where you might have a base, quote unquote, payment throughout the year. And if you hit different incentives, you get that part. Each school has to see what they're comfortable doing. We have ours on a monthly basis, is how ours is paid out there. Because too, if somebody makes a mistake in the middle of the month, I can withhold payment at that point as well too. And that's in these contracts as well. And I think the good thing with revenue share as well too is our student athletes are learning, one, the value of the dollar, and two, do the right things, and you're likely going to do well in business. And so I think all these things you might have learned in the business classroom, it's happening in the real world for them right now. So I think it's a better learning tool for them today because money talks. It catches their attention there. And we tell an athlete, if you don't follow these rules, you're not going to receive your revenue share payment. They straighten up real quick. And I have a few guys who are not going to class as much as they should have. We have a few reminders to them. By golly, they're in class the very next day. So it's just some of those things kind of helps remind them. I think the good things of teaching them education matters, do the right thing, being up. And when they've seen too, the student athletes for us have done well in the classroom, given back to the community, and been outstanding citizens. That's who companies want to work with. That's who we want to help invest in. And so I think they are having some good lessons learned through this part. And again, it comes from how those payment structures are done. Yes, sir.
Is there NIL dollars at the junior college level?
Not today. Now, when they matriculate onto Division I, yes, that's part of the conversation when they are making that transfer from the junior college to a Division I school. That's popping up in the equation for them.
Is it parity in revenue sharing with Title IX athletes?
You're not seeing Title IX held in specifically. Now, I will tell you that every AD that's worth anything, and hopefully I'm worth something there, you're making sure your female athletes are part of this as well too. Because if you're not, you are opening yourself up for a Title IX inquiry of some kind. We have made sure that we have, we'll go into every single team per se there, but that we have teams accounted for. They are at the top third in our conference from what we are gauging things to make sure, one, that we're competitive, but two, we want to make sure our female athletes are included in this because football dominates the conversation as it always will be. But again, your women's basketball, highly on the rise, continues to be on the rise in terms of eyeballs on the sport. Same thing with softball, another one too, that I think those are things we can keep leaning into because they are profitable in terms of revenue drivers for an athletic department. And also too, those are some of our most successful graduates in the future as well. Yes, sir.
What do you think the best number of teams is for the football playoffs?
Whichever one gets multiple G6 programs in. Is that their answer there? So I don't know. 12 to 16 feels to be a good number. I can see 16 working because now you don't have the top four having a week off. And I think some of them would even argue they might rather play that first week of the playoff as opposed to sitting at home. Rust kicks in, you get out of habits. I think from the football side of things, they are so detail, schedule oriented that when you take the foot off the gas, you're going to not play as well. So 16 can make some sense. Now, we can find a way to get some more of our teams in there. I'm all for it. And our goal too, and I'll tell you as well, like, I want to do everything we can to get Shores to the CFP. I want to do everything I can to get Shores to the NCAA basketball tournament, NCAA postseason. I want to host regionals when it comes to baseball and softball. And those are things that we can do. I think the proof is in the pudding that you invest enough, and if you put enough into your teams, you can get the path is there to have those opportunities there. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to host a CFP game. That's all but give it to the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, whoever else there for it. If I got a shot to get into the postseason, we're going to make sure we make some noise while we're there.
Do you think the championship games will go away?
the conference championship games. I don't think it will because it's such a revenue generator for the conference offices. I think they're going to make sure they keep looking. The ACC, for instance, their whole tiebreaker situation brought a lot of eyeballs on. You got to make sure you get the right teams in there, and you don't want to penalize your teams for playing in a conference championship game. I would say James Madison got in because of playing us. There's a lot of eyeballs on them. Obviously, they beat us, and good on them. But them getting into the CFP probably had a lot to do with winning the Sun Belt Conference championship game as another metric to show the streak that they're scheduled. I hope to avenge that loss this year. We're playing at James Madison at some point this year. Don't have the schedule quite yet, but hopefully it's not a snowy month, if you know what I mean there. Am I doing time?
You're good. I have a question. I know when you talk about college athletics, you're talking about football. Most people are thinking about football, basketball, baseball, softball. What about some of the other sports that fall under the athletic umbrella? I realize Troy has a fishing team now, and some of these others. How does that? So, are there any of those teams or activities that you may be overlooking altogether?
So there are some other, so the fishing team, I'll use that one as an example there. That one is deemed a club sport. It's not a varsity sport there, but we have club fishing. We have a club soccer program for men's soccer, that is. We have a women's Division I varsity team. That's actually the first coaching hire I personally made. We just hired Jake Wyman a few months ago as our new women's soccer head coach. He came to us from Montevallo, where he's been to the Division II into the tournament the last 2 years in a row. Has won the Gulf South Conference there, and so sports just that too. I want us to win in everything we do. You know, when we have soccer, volleyball, cross country, track and field, our men's women's tennis programs. I didn't get a chance to touch on our golf program earlier as well too, but we actually went to the NCAA championship round for men's golf last year. It was our first time in Division I history to make it to the top 30 of the country. Brandon Scott, Dothan native of ours as well too, was a first team All-American as well. And we've got some great history in all those sports there. I think that's key for a robust athletic department. Certainly there's ones that are deemed revenue generators because of the eyeballs and butts and seats and people buying tickets and all that as well too. But that also helps us to ensure that we're providing for all of our programs at large there. Our men's and women's tennis programs both made it to the semifinals last year in the Sun Belt Conference. They're both off to good starts right now as their spring seasons just got underway here for us. Our golf programs had their fall seasons, are getting into the spring championship season coming up here as well too there. So we're constantly blowing and going with different events around Troy University's campus as well as on the road. I think all those sports are key for us to make sure that, yes, there's some that get more notoriety than others just based on popularity. But we've done exceptionally well across the board, and that leads into goals of ours of the Sun Belt Conference, the Bubas Cup, which is awarded annually to the top performing athletic department based on a number of metrics. And it would be hard for us to win it just because we don't sponsor all the same sports that count towards that. But if we are in all of our sports in the top half, top 4 in our conference, there's a path for us to win the Bubas Cup, and that's an aspirational goal we want to achieve one day, is to win the big Bubas Cup named after our former commissioner for the Sun Belt Conference. Anything else? Thank you much.
Thank you. Just a reminder, next Monday will be our board meeting on 2/9. Next week's program will be Randy Morris, city manager, brought to us by Stephanie Crow. Thank you to everyone who helped the program today. Will, let's all stand. Say forward. Say it.
Officer,
Look forward to seeing everyone next Monday, 3 to 3.